last summer, I came out to Vegas for the World Series of Poker and I played pretty well. I made an ARIA final table, saw a Stanley Cup game, and ultimately ended my trip up over $4,000. If you didn't see that video, go check it out and subscribe while you're at it. This year, I'm bringing $7,000 cash with me and I'm ready to risk it all on poker and other gambling. My flight coming out was delayed 4 hours, but I'm still in town just in time to hop in the $500 online mystery bounty event. This thing has a $1 million guaranteed prize pool, including a top bounty prize of $100K. Basically, if you make it to a certain point in the tournament, every person you knock out grants you an envelope to open. The new World Series software hooked me up with some sort of masquerade lady and we're going to roll with it. Frankly, I couldn't figure out how to change it anyway. After 11 levels, I got in the 20K starting stack up to about 35K, but ultimately fell short of the money in level 16. After busting out of that, I went and hopped in the $200 World Series of Poker nightly event and torched that off pretty quick, so real solid start to the trip. First night down, $700. The next day, I watched as they demolished the Tropicana before hitting the pool, then going to play in the World Series of Poker daily $250 horse tournament. If you watched last year's video, you know horse is my favorite form of poker. It's a limit betting game that rotates through 5 different games over time. Despite my love of the game, I torched off that board pretty quick. It was late at that point, so I played a cheap online mystery bounty event while I had dinner at the bar. It was only a $55 event, so who even cares honestly? Why am I even including this? Well, because I made it to the bounty portion of the tournament. I was short stacked right before the money bubble and the bounties had kicked in when I got all in King versus Queen 7. I was 83% pre-flop, but the guy rivered 2 pair on me. What's worse, he ripped the $2,000 bounty right off my head. I played another Hyper Mystery bounty event for $100 that night and I made it to the bounty portion of that one as well. This time, however, with the stack that covered most opponents. I almost got unlucky once again, but an ace on the river saved me, allowing me to actually rip open a $250 envelope of my own. I ultimately finished 15th out of 369 in that tournament. After that, I went downstairs to wait for my girlfriend's late flight to arrive and actually hit for $700 in video poker. It got me almost even on the trip the dumb way, but hey, I'll take it. The next day, I hopped in the $600 Poker News Deepstack event at the World Series of Poker. It's a long event with a 4-day structure and slow levels. In retrospect, it's far too slow for a $600 tournament, but here we are. I did well to work my 30K starting stack up to 60K, but went card dead for a while approaching the dinner break. I think I had something like 10 to 15 big blinds and I really wanted to find a spot to double up before dinner so I wouldn't have to come back to a short stack. This right here is the literal last hand before dinner break. You can see everyone already leaving. There goes Alan Kessler. I got all in Ace-King versus King-6. I managed to hold heading to dinner and I would come back with about an average stack. My girlfriend and I had an excellent dinner at Alexa's where we overlooked the Bellagio fountain show. It was a truly lovely experience and it was nice to get outside for a bit since they keep it so cold at the World Series. After dinner, I came back incorrectly thinking that we were maybe about 2 hours away from making the money. I played solidly but found myself short stacked when I picked up pocket jacks. I got all in versus Queen 10. So, I busted out of this event after playing for 12 hours. It was 10 p.m. I thought at the time we were maybe an hour from the money, but later learned they played until a little after 2 a.m. to make the money. Yeah, that's a 16-hour day one just to min cash a $600 event. Please, anyone watching this, remind me not to play such a slow structure for a $600 event ever again. Anyway, there's always degenerate gambling to save the day. The next morning, I went on an incredibly hot run on the video poker machine, turning $100 into a little over $900. I just kept hitting small prize after small prize. Later that day, I hopped in the MGM $500 Omaha 8 event. I honestly might not have played this event if not for the fact that MGM is where I stayed for this trip, and it was just a single day event. They got 128 entrants and would pay the final 16. We started with 25,000 in chips, and before long I chipped up to 65,000 and then 90,000 before going on dinner break. After dinner, I got a nice double up and was sitting on about 150,000 on the money bubble. 16th would pay a little over 1,000 with another pay jump right at 15th. There were two very short players left, so I had to sort of let the chip leaders bully me out of some blinds, as securing the score was pretty important to me. Before long, we secured 16th position and $1,050 in cash, but it was still anyone's game. I was only just below the average stack, one double up, and I'm looking pretty good to make the final table and have a run at the top prize of $16,000. Indeed, I found a chance. I made a straight on a turn with no low draw and a boat redraw. I got my chips all in versus an opponent, but the river paired the board. A boat was made, but not for me, as my opponent turns over a rivered full house, and I'm sent packing in 13th. It's an unfortunate run out, but we'll take the roughly $1,200 win for the trip. That win actually put me up for the trip, even though the dumb gambling is doing most of the work. I won't complain. So I played for 12 hours in that MGM event, which means back-to-back 12-hour days, and I was definitely feeling it. I mean, I'm not in my 20s anymore. I'd planned on playing another $600 event at the World Series of Poker the next day, but frankly, I didn't feel like I had it in me to play a third consecutive 12-hour day, especially for just a $600 event. I decided to just hang out with my girlfriend. We checked in on the 50K PPC final table where Daniel Negreanu ultimately won his 7th bracelet, and did a little gambling together before our dinner. Pai Gow is by far my favorite table game. If you've never played before, you get dealt 7 cards, and there's a side bet based on the strength of your 5-card hand. Before our dinner, I actually hit a royal flush for $750 off the main side bet, but also another $2,500 off the progressive side bet. It's an incredibly rare instance that I managed to hit and get on camera. Look, I mean, I wanted to be up money on poker by this point in the trip, but I can't complain being up money no matter how it happens, right? The next day, I had initially planned to play the WSOP Colossus, but frankly, having played 12 hours in a $600 World Series event a couple days ago just to fall short of the money, I couldn't see myself doing it again, but this time for only a $400 buy-in. And that's coming from a guy whose first 2 WSOP cashes were both in the Colossus. In summers to come, I'm looking forward to reevaluating the schedule and better managing my selections. So anyway, I didn't play the Colossus and instead decided to play the online $500 bracelet event, which, naturally, I torched, but it didn't take me 12 hours to do it, so it's a win. On my last day in town, I played in the Aria $800 horse event. If you watched my video last year, you know I went deep and final tabled this thing before making a deal for a nice profit. This year, the guaranteed prize pool has doubled from last year. We get off to an incredibly hot start to pick up where we left off in this thing last year, turning our 30,000 starting stack into a little over 45,000. That's a pretty hot start in limit poker. I'd won 3 hands with betting to the last street. I absolutely crashed and burned after that, just couldn't make a hand when it really mattered, concluding the gambling for the trip. Ultimately, it was not the poker results I wanted this summer, but I was miraculously bailed out by other gambling. Despite losing in poker, it's still actually 2 consecutive profitable summers for me at the World Series of Poker. This trip really helped me to learn a lot about how I want to attack next summer, and I'm already looking forward to doing it again. Join me, won't you?